In the name I am that I am, son of tomorrow, I call forth the light of the living word, beloved Elohim, beloved archangels, beloved mighty choans of the rays and the lords of karma. I call for the action of beloved Pallas Athena, beloved goddess of liberty, beloved Nada, beloved Kuan Yin, beloved Portia, beloved great divine director, beloved all-seeing eye of God, Cyclopeia. Let God's will be done, let God's will be done, let God's will be done. I demand the action of the sacred fire in this hour. Descend almighty cosmos, secret rays. I am the holding of the balance of Lord Gautama Buddha, beloved Sana Kumara and the seven holy Kumaras. I call upon the sacred fire, I call upon the light of God that never fails. Beloved mighty, I am present, come forth in this hour of the victory. Come forth in this hour of the victory of the God slain. I demand the full power, beloved mighty, be with us this night. Beloved Jesus, send to me, Lord, my Savior, Gautama and Sana Kumara. Come forth now in the victory of the God slain. Send the light of 10,000 suns. Beloved mighty, stand, mighty, stand, mighty, stand. Around this fortune now. I call upon the great central sun magnet. I call upon the light of God that never fails. Beloved expand, beloved expand, beloved expand. I call upon the electronic solar rings of the great central sun, the seraphim of God. I call for the electronic fire rings. I call for the rings of the great central sun. I call for the great central sun magnet and the full power of the
Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Free Association Radio. Today's show, of course, is Navigating the Astrological Matrix. I'm your host, Robert Phoenix, and over the course of the next 120 minutes, we're going to Karam and Kareen around the stars, look at where they are, where they're headed, and how, more importantly, they can empower you today. Today, we have an Aries moon. The moon is fresh into Aries, and Aries is that really interesting sign. It's an interesting sign. It is a sign that is incomparable in some ways. People that have Aries prominently displayed in their charts are adventurous, they're pioneering, they're dauntless, they don't take no for an answer, sometimes at the exclusion of good advice, or sometimes even at the exclusion of friendships, cooperation, and all the other aspects that they're here to learn on the backside of their sign, which is Libra, because that's how astrology does work. We're not only here to learn about the sign that we are and the aspects of what we are, but we're here to learn about the reverse as well, the flip side or the shadow. So we need to take that into account when we're dealing with astrology as a strategy for empowerment. And today, the Aries moon is all about empowerment. It's all about taking steps to make your life a better life. We're going to be exploring that on today's show, and we're going to be exploring how astrology can do that, how certain planets are helpful towards that end. And any of the readings that I'm going to be doing today are going to be based on that precept and that frame set. We're going to be looking at where in your chart you're empowered and how you can use certain cycles and certain aspects to grow closer and closer and closer to what I would call a more divine version of yourself, how we can actually use astrology to, quote unquote, get closer to our soul and get closer to God, which is really, I think, what we're here to do. And we're here to live a divine experience. We're here to live a life of beauty and inspiration and love and compassion, and to help one another, and to do it hopefully in style, because the days of doing it not in style I think they're over. Now, there's some challenges we're going to face, obviously, but I think that they're worth taking on. Hey, I'm using a headset today, by the way. Can you notice the difference? Can anybody notice the difference about this headset? Let me see if I can find the chat room here amidst all of my windows that I've got wide open. Let's see here. Coming back to Blog Talk. Here we go. Chat. Can you notice the headset? There's Tiger 5. Got a little bit of a thin room in there. Hey, Tiger 5. How are you doing? If you can hear me now, how do I sound? Do I sound okay? I just decided to put the headset on today to cut down on sort of the ambient boom in the room when I do this. So let's talk about a little bit about what's happening in the world right now, shall we? Lance Armstrong is getting absolutely filleted, and probably with good reason, because, you know, he's not really a great dude. You know, he threw a lot of people under the bus and took a very aggressive towards psychopathology and remaining on top. I don't think that that is so different than other people in positions of power in what they do, but Lance Armstrong is a figurehead. He represents something in the American psyche. I've written about this on my website. He represents the death of a particular version of the American male. And if you go back on my website, I did a piece on Lance Armstrong, Neil Armstrong, and Jack Armstrong. Neil Armstrong died right around the same time that Lance Armstrong had his medals taken away. In fact, I think it was separated just by days. And then I tracked who Jack Armstrong was and what he meant to the American psyche and all that stuff. A certain figure for a certain time, the adventurous spirit of the American going around the world, getting into these intrigues, and then, using his ingenuity and all the acumen and skills available to him as an American to get out of those intrigues. Well, now Lance Armstrong, today, I believe it was yesterday, right here, where I'm talking to you from, he met with the Black Popess, the high priestess of media, Oprah Winfrey. She's now the high Popess confessor, apparently, and Lance did his mea culpas in 2 separate interviews with Oprah. I think they're going to air tomorrow and maybe the next day. And it's interesting to watch all of the drama around what's happening with him. All of the absolute rancor and the recrimination and the bitterness and the bile and all, it's just really amazing to watch. He's getting, I would say, more flack, more heat, more hate than Bernie Madoff. He's certainly getting way more than John Corzine and MF Global, who literally just stole money right out of people's accounts. He's getting more hate and more venom than people like Ben Bernanke and Timothy Geithner, who have taken trillions of dollars and basically said, we don't know where it is now. Talk about defrauding the American people. I mean, Lance Armstrong, again, I am not a Lance Armstrong supporter. Let's just be honest. I'm being honest. I'm being open. I'm not a supporter. But I smell hypocrisy. When I smell hypocrisy, it's pretty clear that something is going on here that is above and beyond sort of what this man has done. I mean, again, I get it. He's not a great person. He's not a great person. He's got all these people that are coming out of the woodworks and saying, well, Lance did this, and Lance did this, and Lance did this, and Lance did this. Most of these people were also doping on their bikes as well, but Lance Armstrong made the bicycling industry, ESPN, you name it, he made Disney, he made them billions of dollars, Nike, billions of dollars. This guy was an industry unto himself. And here is the hypocrisy of crony capitalism. It's now they want to turn on him and they want their money back, blah, 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 blah. It kind of makes me sick, to be honest with you. So here we have the Aries moon. The Aries moon is coming out its moedings being authentic, right? This is what I'm trying to share right now via the Aries moon. So this is what's going on right now. Now, here we have the Lance Armstrong piece. And that's sitting in front of everybody. Everybody's talking about Lance Armstrong, right? Meanwhile, you've got the Sandy Hook thing kind of over here on the other side, and you have the gun control thing going on over here on the other side. And what's happening? Do they all fit together? They might. They might, because one of the things, okay, so look where Lance Armstrong is from. He's from Austin, Texas. Where is Alex Jones from? Austin, Texas. Where am I right now? Austin, Texas. Okay, there seems to be a theme going on here. Can you see the theme? Yesterday I was watching the BBC. I was working out and they had the BBC on the TV there, and they did a big piece on guns in Texas. And they made the people of Texas kind of look like, well, you know, fringy people with guns. We're going to watch some barbecue. We're going to have some beer. We're going to take our guns. We're going to do some shooting. In fact, look what I did. I downloaded a gun off the internet. That's what I did. I got me a 3D printer, and I got me some plastic molds. I just whipped it all up, and boy, look at this. It can shoot me some bullets. And there's something going on here, and it's really not quite that clear, is it, Mr. Jones? I was watching a piece on neurolinguistic programming last night, and the master of neurolinguistic programming is, in our time, Darren Brown. And I've done some stuff on Darren Brown. If you haven't seen his videos, I highly recommend you watch them. It gives you an insight into how people are programmed across the board, A to Z, one-on-one, group setting, you name it. Darren Brown is a spellcaster. He's a warlock, that Darren Brown. And in fact, I believe that the Sherlock Holmes character that Robert Downey Jr. created, or his version of it, is based on Darren Brown. You can actually look at the two side by side, and there's some similarities on a physical level. And then in this video, they had a very raw piece of video by the founder of neurolinguistic programming his name is Milton Erickson. And it's a very interesting and highly manipulative science. And then the same video got into somebody very famous who gives speeches at a high level to the American people. And this famous person, time-wise, speech-wise, his speeches are 10 to 15 minutes longer than other presidents, but other presidents have ever delivered. And it was an interesting conclusion with the video that this person was practicing some neurolinguistic programming. Yes, indeed. So one of the things that we have to understand to experience a level of empowerment is to understand the programming and the triggers in the world that are around us. For instance, if you still watch TV, one of the most important things you can do while you're watching TV is to remind yourself that you're watching TV. Believe it or not, this actually works and actually helps. You remind yourself on a 15 to 20-minute interval that, yeah, I'm watching TV, all of a sudden you kind of break the frequency and the train wave or the entrainment of the television. I know we're supposed to talk about astrology, and we will. I'm in my moon and Aries mode right now. But I think it's also very important for you to understand that, in fact, right now, what I am doing is I am mimicking the neurolinguistic process. Why? Because I'm leading you along with these gaps in my speech. Can you feel it? And this is a type of technique that is used by certain people to entrain your thought processes. So you need to be aware of that. You need to be aware of this kind of cadence, this kind of rhythm. Now, I just fall into it naturally. I don't do it because sometimes I'm just thinking about the next thing to say. But there are people that have a script in front of them, and they will talk like this. And there's usually, at times, a rhyme or something that is nonlinear at the beginning of any kind of speech or presentation that takes the person into the trance. And it could be something like London bridges falling down, Jack and Jill took the crown, today the world is upside down, I'm really white but wish I was brown. Something like that. And it can be said in a very incongruous way. And then what that does is it brings the person into a state of entrainment. So here we are. Today's the moon in Aries, and I'm giving you something that is not necessarily astrological, but it's about discernment and to understand that whenever you are walking around outside or listening to media and even this show, okay, you are in the trance. You are in the trance. And what's happening is that if you can become aware of it and awake, then the trance begins to break down. This is very important. It's a very important notion. Now, what's happening in terms of Sandy Hook is quite interesting, actually, because the whole everything that Max and I talked about on the show on Friday is starting to come up. We have this professor from Florida Atlantic University who's talking about the actor thing. You've got Gene Rosen, who is the guy who brought the kids into his house, has changed his story about 4 or 5 times, who cries but never sheds a tear. You have him complaining to the media that he's being harassed. The number 4 search term on Yahoo today was Sandy Hook Truthers. So this is coming out now. This is coming out. And now what do we have? We have yet more division, more divisiveness, more of a split, more of a polarity. And it's going to happen. Why? Because there are things about the event that just don't add up. People understand that if it doesn't feel right on an analog level, it does not feel right. It doesn't feel right. So you've got that going on. We've got the Armstrong thing going on. We've got duplicity. We've got fall from grace. We have crashing ego. All of this stuff. We have gun control, and it's all swirling together in this miasma, in this cyclonic miasma of events. And people, as a result of this, can just get moved around all over the place. Even us, people who mean well, people who want to see clearly, at times are even manipulated through our own best intentions. This is why it is important, it's vital that you can be as discerning as possible and not bite at the hook and not bite at the bait as much as often as we can. It's hard, I know. So what we're doing here today is we're trying to get to aspects and angles and planets about astrology, with astrology, that are empowering, that will serve you, where you can go through something or you can see something and really bring that aspect home. I had a discussion with someone, I think it might have been last week, and what I said to them was is that I want to be able to give more to you, the listener, in terms of tools to be able to help you. I enjoy doing readings for people. It gives me great pleasure. I'm good at it. It's my livelihood. But I also want to somehow establish a way for you to do what I do. If you're interested, or if you're not interested, take some of the things that I do and apply them to your life. So part of today's show is going to be dedicated to that. In fact, a large part of today's show will be dedicated to that. So if you call in and you want a reading, one of the things that I'm going to do with you is I'm going to work with your chart as a template for empowerment, okay, as a template for empowerment. And one of the other things that I'm going to try to do today, to the best of my ability, is part of what I do is an intuitive process. And it's not always easy for me to be able to communicate that to people because it happens between my head. And I'm going to try to extract some of that and share some of that with you today as well. So what I want to do now is I want to open up the phone lines, 347-308-8995, 347-308-8995. If you want to call in and start this process off, get this thing rolling. Today, there's some interesting birthdays today. And we're still in the sign of Capricorn. Capricorn, of course, is the sign of the super achiever, people that set goals, go after goals, make things happen, and are relentless in pursuit of reaching some point, some aim or point on the event horizon. Today there's some interesting birthdays today. Laura Schlesinger, Dr. Laura, you guys know who she is, right? It's her birthday today. And I don't have her birth time, but we do have where her planets are. And I'm trying to figure out what makes Laura Schlesinger so ambitious. Well, I'll tell you what it is. It's the fact that she has Sun, Mercury, and Mars all in the sign of Capricorn, and they are all conjunct. They are separated by a 2-degree orb. Mars, 23 degrees, Mercury, 21 degrees, and Sun, 25 degrees. So there you go. She is driven. This is a person who is driven by nature to be successful. And if you know anything about Laura Schlesinger, one of the first things she did was, I think this was in San Francisco. It was on KGO or KSFO. She wound up having an affair with the program director. And apparently, this is just in industry or insider scuttlebutt, she was quite good at, certain things that the program director felt were applicable to keeping her on the job. So she, again, if we look at Capricorn, we can see that she would have used that Capricornian energy all bundled up to find the most important and powerful person in the environment around her, and then figure out a way to tap into that power. She does not have very many squares on her chart at all. This is not a complex or challenging chart in terms of squares. She has a major opposition between Venus and Uranus, and that's it. You know, that's why she can be shocking, or that's why she can say things that can offend people at times. She's got a mutual reception. She's got Moon in Scorpio, and she has Jupiter in Scorpio. This woman is very into money. She's very into power. She's very into prestige, and she has the chart. It's a single focus chart that absolutely accentuates that. She has Pluto conjunct Saturn. She's able to work hard and long to make her goals manifest and work for it. If you want to look at a chart, again, no time, but if you want to look at a chart of somebody who is wired to be a super achiever and a super success, almost at any cost, it is the chart of Dr. Laura Schlesinger. She has a pretty good balance, I would say, of water, earth, and fire, but what she lacks here is air. She lacks air in her chart. She lacks objectivity. She has a Uranus in Gemini. Her true node is in Gemini, so she's a little, I would say, duplicitous at times with the true node, especially with the wide conjunction of Uranus. But other than that, she doesn't have a lot of air. She has a tendency not to be entirely objective with that lack of air. However, she is the model, the astrological model for achievement and advancement. Another birthday today, kind of an interesting birthday, is, let's see, yesterday was Martin Luther King's birthday. Interesting guy, Martin Luther King. You know, he wanted to turn the page Martin Luther King was, he was basically developed. He was a developed persona. He went to the same school in Tennessee that, and I've talked about this school before, that Rosa Parks went to. And he was developed to play a certain role. And then after a while, what he did is he began to, I don't think he began to believe his own press clippings, but I think he began to get inspired and saw that what he did actually mattered. And he wanted to change the game and really, really, truly bring people together. And that was his death sentence. So Martin Luther King, his birthday yesterday. Today is the birthday of Aaliyah. Aaliyah, who last played in the movie Queen of the Damned. That was her final role. She was a beautiful young singer. She was born in Brooklyn, and she died at the age of 22, and she died in an airplane accident. And they were flying back from the Bahamas, and the plane, crashed and exploded. And she has gone down in hip-hop lore. If you get into the occult or dark side of hip-hop, you can find that there are stories about blood sacrifice and all kinds of unsavory things, that each person who's made it to the top has had to sacrifice someone. And at that time, Aaliyah was the girlfriend of Damon Dash, who was one half of Rockefeller with Jay-Z. So that could be the case. I mean, she did play in a very interesting, dark, supernatural film, Queen of the Damned, in one of her final appearances on stage and screen. Looking at her chart, again, no time for the ascendant, but a very strong connection with Capricorn, Mars and Capricorn, and Sun in Capricorn, again, super achiever. Mercury in Capricorn. So we've got kind of something similar with Aaliyah and Dr. Laura. It's interesting. Also Venus in Sag, like Dr. Laura has. Moon in Virgo, which gave her a very different kind of moon, not as power hungry with that Scorpio moon that Dr. Laura has, and Saturn in Virgo as well. Jupiter in Leo, there's beauty, grace, artistic expression, and her node in Virgo as well. Sun, Mars, conjunction, opposite Jupiter, Pluto, square Mars, and Pluto square Sun. The Pluto-Mars, Pluto-Sun square can be considered a violent one that does signify some form of violence or destruction, or even an early death at some point in life. That is kind of the fatalistic old school version of astrology, but it's an interpretation nonetheless. A much more complex chart than Dr. Laura. All right, we've got somebody on hold here. Let's see who. It's our friend from the UK checking in. Hello, Jody.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm pretty good. How are you doing? Thanks for calling in.
That's okay. I'm really good. It's pretty cold here.
It's cold here too. Yeah. It was 20 degrees this morning.
Yeah, I'm feeling your pain. It's -2 here, something like that at midday.
Wow, that is very. Well, we have a great. So you're calling from England. I got to tell you, the connection is great. I can hear you loud and clear, and you're coming through nice and with a nice resonance here. So what's up with you?
Well, I just thought I'd call in and see if I could get a little heads up as to what's going on for me at the moment. I'm in a long-distance relationship, as you know, and it's going to be the first time that I see this person for 3 months coming up. Not this weekend, the weekend after. So I just thought I'd phone for the weather report, really, for that weekend.
Okay, let me see if I still have your chart up here. I might. Hold on. Let me go here. Let's see what this is. Yeah, let's see. We got the Leo ascendant, right?
That's right.
Sun in the 12th house, right?
That's right.
Okay, so we have the right chart. I'm looking at it right now as we speak.
Fantastic.
Okay, so this weekend,
It's the 26th.
26th. Oh, okay, so that's in 2 weeks then.
Yeah.
2 weeks. All right, so what we want to do is we want to figure out where Pisces is going to be at that time because of your 7th house, right? I mean, we look at your 7th house, and here's hopefully where I can expand on this. The 7th house is the house of relationships, and anytime we have planets transiting that house, relationship becomes very important. The aspects of relationship and the promise of relationship, the attention and focus of relationship come much more clearly into view. So let's go 2 months ahead here, or 2 weeks ahead rather, and let's go to the ephemeris and find out what we have in Pisces, since that is going to be the angle, the cusp. We're going to go here in 2013. There we go. All right, so the 26th, let's see. Well, there's Mars. Mars is in Pisces. That's
is that
showing.
Good?
Well, okay, so 26th until what?
The 29th. It's a short one this time.
Okay, well, the good news is that Venus is also showing up too.
Yay.
Yeah, so Venus comes in on the 27th. Okay, whoa. I'm sorry. This is the 26th of this month. Okay, my bad. I went way ahead. 26th. Okay, very different landscape. You've got Mars, and you've got Gemini, Mars, let's see, Mercury, Aquarius, Mars, Aquarius. So you're gonna have Aquarius. So those planets are gonna be in your 6th house, and then Venus, however, will be in your 5th house. That's actually pretty good. That's advantageous because the 5th house is the house of romance, right? It's the house of creativity. It's the house of children. It's the house of love. And anytime you get a 5th house transit of Venus, those qualities are going to become, again, more apparent and more important. The one thing that is, I wouldn't say concerns me, but your 5th house is in Capricorn. And when we have a 5th house Capricorn, one of the things that a person that has a 5th house Capricorn has to do to open their heart is to be able to have a sense of trust and a sense of consistency and a sense of things moving forward into the future, right? Because Capricorn is about moving towards the future. Cancer, its opposite sign, is about remembering the past. So there's a great deal of sentimentality associated with Cancer. There is not a lot of sentimentality associated with Capricorn. So Capricorn Venus in Capricorn in your 5th house would be exploring the future of romance. It'd be exploring the future, the long-term future. What does this look like long-term? How do we stay connected? How do we keep our hearts open? That would be a major area of discussion and exploration for you during that time. I believe Venus is at 21 degrees, if I'm not mistaken. So it's going to be firmly kind of entrenched in your 5th house. And it's good. I mean, if you want to talk about, sort of long-range plans and feeling like you can get into it on an emotional level, let your guard down, the more of a sense of being able to see that there's a plan, the more that you get that, the more that you'll be able to open your heart. And that's a big part of Venus transiting your 5th house. And the other thing, too, with Venus transiting the 5th house is that once you can break those barriers down and once you can begin to get a sense that has long-term potential, then you are much more willing and able to open up your body. I mean, Capricorn is an earth sign. It's a physical sign. And once the frost or once the formality comes off of Capricorn, they really want, that aspect in the fifth house wants to be held, wants to be touched. So there can be some really wonderful moments around connecting physically during that time as well. But again, the key to this would be to explore without beating the death out of romance or without beating the death out of the heart, to explore the possibility that this is meaningful. It can be kind of a long-term experience. And then, with all that stuff in Aquarius, in the sixth house, there would be, in some ways, more of an objectivity, more being able to step back at times and seeing, sort of the big picture in terms of, how work comes into play, who works where, who does what, then you begin to explore things like working remotely. And I mean, that will come into focus as well. So, I mean, I think it could be a very good time, especially if you can open your heart based on, kind of a longer term plan or a longer term goal or a longer term strategy. So the 26th, which is a Saturday, so the 29th, okay? So the moon will be in Leo, which is nice, right? It's going to be a full moon in Leo on Sunday. So it'll be a full moon in Leo on Sunday and Monday. That's great. The full moon in Leo is a very romantic moon. It's a warm moon. It will be in your 12th house, and it will heat up your Saturn. Your Saturn in the 12th. It'll heat it up. It'll come in. You'll have a Sun-Moon conjunction very early in the first degrees of the full moon, which is wonderful. Your Sun trines Neptune, so it will stir some romanticism for you. At 5 degrees, right around the same time, it's going to trine your moon in Sagittarius. So I think that's actually a really good. I mean, I think it's a great weekend for this to occur. To be honest with you.
Good news.
Yeah. Thumbs up. It allows you to come. Anytime you get transits like going through your 12th house, especially big transits like a full moon, it allows those planets in your 12th house to get lit up, and so there's more of you that gets to be seen, and more of you gets to be experienced. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. It's good to hear you sounding better as well. How are you feeling now?
I feel better. I had this amazing chicken soup, which helped me a great deal, really sped up my recovery. And, I just think that one of the things that's going on with this nasty flu, from what I've read, is that you can just be prepared to be down for about 7 to 10 days, and that's really kind of what I was experiencing. So I think time also, kind of helped clear it up as well.
Yeah, I don't think it's really hit us over here yet. I've heard of a few people with the sickness bug, but not anything really nasty and long-lasting. So just wait for that one, I guess.
Well, or wait for it not to come. Let's keep it in a positive sense here.
Well, yeah.
And one of the things that you being a mother, you'll find is that your little guy will bring home all sorts of fun things. So just keep him as healthy and clean, and do showers and baths and stuff, which I know you do. Just make sure that he's as germ-free as possible when he's at home, and then you rest a little bit easier. That was my experience, at least.
I've started doing some raw juice in the morning, and so he's having some of that. So I'm hoping that I'm going to, and I'm also giving him some Manuka honey. So I'm hoping I'm kind of boosting his immune system from the inside as well. So
yeah,
we'll see.
I've heard great things about that honey. Have you actually experienced it?
Well, it's always difficult to say whether it's having an effect or not, because obviously if you're taking it, you don't know what you would have got if you hadn't been taking it, and etc. But I mean, I've done really well so far over this winter period. Touch wood, I've not really suffered with anything. So yeah, I guess it seems to be working. And despite being at nursery, getting exposed to all kinds of germs, my son hasn't picked up too much. So
Right.
So yeah, I guess that's positive. It's all positive, really.
Now, do you get that from New Zealand, or do they have it there in England?
This one's actually Chilean. It's just from my local health food shop. But yeah, New Zealand's kind of most products that you see are from New Zealand. So I was quite surprised that this one was from Chile.
Yeah, interesting.
Oh, you say Chile, don't you?
Chile. Yes, I made a big pot of Chile last night, by the way.
Oh yeah, I saw that on Facebook. It sounded good.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Secret ingredient.
The secret ingredient I cannot reveal at this time. It was part of my Illuminati oath to not reveal the secret chili ingredient. So.
Okay.
All right,
well,
Jody.
thank you very much. Anyway.
You're welcome, and thank you for calling in. I really appreciate it.
Okay, no worries. Take care.
You too now. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, it's our friend all the way from England, Jody. Hello there.
Hello?
Yeah, hi.
Yeah, hi. It's my first time calling into the show. I've been listening for a while.
Oh, well, cool. Well, welcome.
Thanks.
What's your name?
My name is Amanda.
Hey, Amanda. And where are you calling from? What is that, 301?
Maryland.
Maryland. Okay. So it is your lucky day. There is nobody else waiting today, so we can do a full chart reading for you. How does that sound?
Oh, that sounds good.
And today's theme here, Amanda, is empowerment, and to try to get you to understand your chart in a way that can be more meaningful and empowering. So you may have an issue, maybe it's relationships or maybe it's money, but we're gonna focus on empowerment here, okay?
Okay.
All right, so why don't you go ahead and give me your birth data?
My birthday is June 14th, 1990. And I was born, I think it was around between 11 and 12 in the afternoon.
Between 11, this is where I need Ra to come on the show. We could ask you a bunch of questions about your ascendant. All right, let's just say between 11 and 12. Let's throw it in 11:30 here, right around. Where was that?
Yeah, I think it was about 11:30. Yeah.
Okay.
In Washington D.C.
Okay. Let's see here. Let's go up here and here and. All right. And let's see, come on now, crunching the data. And here you are. Okay. So I have you as Virgo ascendant at roughly 4 degrees. And I guess one of the qualifying questions is cleanliness in a really neat environment important to you?
Yes. I need it for order. I can't think. It's not. Mhm.
All right. And with the 4-degree ascendant, even at work, do you keep a really neat desk, or wherever you are at work? Is that? I mean, do you have the same kind of really neat experience?
Yes.
All right. Okay, I think we're on to that then. Okay, so I got your chart here. Where do you want to go?
Anywhere. I feel like I need help in all areas, so.
Okay.
Anywhere. Mhm.
All right. So I think the big ticket item right now for you in your chart, there are. Oh boy, you got a lot going on. But I think the big ticket item for you is Saturn, and Saturn in Scorpio. And you're going to have a Saturn-Pluto conjunction. And that happens later this year. It happens, Pluto gets up to 11 degrees. I'm sorry, Saturn gets up to 11 degrees. and then it goes backwards to 4, and then it gets to 15, 16 by the end of the year. So at this time, actually be like November, December of 2013, you're going to have Saturn right on your Pluto. Up until then, it will get very close at 11, then it goes backwards. The Saturn-Pluto conjunction takes place opposite Venus in your chart. And that signifies immense pressure in relationships, okay? And I don't know if you're in a relationship now or you're married. I don't know what your piece is, but with Saturn and Pluto opposite Venus, there will be a strong there'll be a strong energy or a strong pull to either get out of a relationship as quickly as possible, or some kind of almost obsessive or uncontrollable urge to be drawn towards somebody, yet repelled at the same time. And there can be, and this is, by the way, part of your chart too, okay? Because you would attract people that could be obsessive with you, or at times you could flip that script and get really obsessed over them. The relationships in your chart happen in extreme in some ways, and very rarely can you have at times a balance kind of connection with someone. There also can be very strong sort of sexual pull at times, and then what happens is, and everybody's had these relationships like where the sex is really good and everything else is just okay and sometimes really lousy, but the sex will keep you in the relationship. You know, you've got that aspect in your chart. Now, what Saturn will do is that Saturn will put a damper on that, and Saturn will help you end any patterns or any cycles that you have with, for lack of a better term, fatal attraction or, an OCD style relationship. That comes to an end with Saturn crossing over your Pluto. And as a result of that, you will probably be able to do two things. One, you'll be able to pull your energy in and attract somebody who will be kind of more along the same lines as your energy, or an existing relationship, wherever you are at that time, will have a major, for lack of a better term, balancing of the karmic scales. And then you'll be freed up from that relationship and that relational pattern. Now, you have Moon in Pisces, which is a very poetic, very romantic, very loving moon. Most people that have Moon in Pisces have artistic ability that they need to, figure out how to use in their life. And your Moon is right there on the edge of your 7th house cusp. And it almost forms a midpoint between Pluto and Venus. It could theoretically be a mediating factor in your chart. Now, Pisces Moon in and of itself is not a bad place for the Moon. It's just that you want to make sure that you are not being taken advantage of at times with the Pisces Moon, because people with Pisces Moon tend to kind of fall in love at first sight. They can have a lot of projection, but they tend to be able to rebound, and they're always moved by beauty and spirit in some ways. You have a mystic rectangle in your chart, by the way, which is really fairly uncommon and interesting, and we would have to get into that at a greater length at some point in time. But so the mystic rectangle essentially means that when a planet crosses a certain angle or certain point, that all the other planets that are involved in that mystic rectangle are also affected. And when you have a mystic rectangle, what you're going to have is you're going to have oppositions, like that Venus-Pluto opposition that I talked about. And then you've got you've got a Jupiter-Chiron conjunction that's involved in almost a yod. It's close, it's not quite enough, but almost a yod, opposing Uranus, Neptune, and Saturn. So again, anytime you go through any changes with those angles, all those planets are going to be hit. People with mystic rectangles tend to go through wholesale change. both positively and negatively. Good things can happen to you too, and then all of a sudden you've got the energy of the mystic rectangle happening right now. Excuse me. Transiting Pluto is playing a role in this whole mystic rectangle experience. So, by the way, is Saturn when it hits Pluto in your third house. Everything I talked about, that opposition, Saturn kicks off and hits all these other planets. It's going to be trining Jupiter and trining Chiron. It's going to be sextiling Uranus, sextiling Neptune. You're going to have that going on. Pluto is going to be on your Neptune this year, 11 degrees, really gets on in 2013. What's Pluto going to be doing? It's going to be trining your Venus. It's going to be opposing Jupiter and Chiron. It's going to be, again, sextiling natal Pluto, mutual reception. Really powerful stuff. It's also going to, it's a ways off from that moon. And then Neptune is on your moon right now. Neptune's at 2 degrees, so you're going to have Neptune on your moon for about another 2.5 to 3 years. And that can be a very spiritual time for you. You also, with Neptune on your moon, squaring your Mercury in Gemini, you have to watch out for people that are too good, that people appear much better than they really are. You cannot fall for sob stories. You have to watch out for con artists, drug addicts, people that are psychic leeches. Got to watch out for them with Neptune on your moon, squaring your Mercury. And again, this is about a 2.5 to 3 year process. So, your ability to love, your ability to be compassionate, your ability to experience profound spiritual states, kind of religiosity, the emotional experience, that's all heightened. But also, so is the ability for people to take advantage of you, because you're so open with that Neptune on your moon. You can be so open, so you have to be really clear. The last piece here is Jupiter is getting ready to go back into. Well, it's right there. It's just moved off of your Mercury. It's at 6 degrees. It's getting ready to move forward. You're going to have Jupiter in your 10th house for roughly, I would say 9 to 10 months. And when you have Jupiter moving through your 10th house and then it's conjuncting your Sun, Jupiter will be conjuncting your Sun in May and June. That's actually a really, really good time. Okay, so it's a good time for you to shine. It's a good time for you if you want to think about changing jobs, to polish up your resume, get in front of people, interview with people. Your popularity will be super potentiated during that time. So May and June of this year are really powerful and positive times for you. Then later on this summer, we're getting to August, September. You're going to have a Jupiter return because you have Jupiter in Cancer. And again, what happens? Jupiter hits part of your mystic rectangle, and then bang, you're going to have a lot of changes in your life. And some of them will be quite positive, actually, because of the role of the mystic rectangle. You also have a T-square in your chart. And so you have actually a very, very complex chart, Amanda. And complex isn't bad. I mean, you're a Gemini. You wouldn't want it any differently, right? I mean, complexity is interesting. It keeps life novel. It keeps life interesting. Keeps life moving forward. I guess the empowerment piece here for me to you would be Mars. You got Mars in the 8th house. It's part of a massive T-square here. Mars is squaring Uranus, and it's squaring Neptune, and it's also squaring Jupiter, and it's also squaring Chiron. You have what's called accidental exaltation in the 8th house with Mars. And people who have Mars in Aries are very intrepid. It's an Aries moon right now. I'm not surprised you're calling in today. You have moon conjunct Mars. They're intrepid. They're pioneering. Well, never doubt that about yourself, by the way. You never doubt that because the 8th house Mars is it's a challenging Mars. It's a place where we don't always get to any planets in the 8th house quite easily. But when we do, when we're able to dig down and get into them, we can really channel a lot of power and focus. The one thing I will say is, especially as we get into January and February, when Pluto squares your Mars, this is very important, okay? I want you to hear me. Very important. I don't want you to put yourself in situations that are quote unquote dangerous. Okay. You want to avoid people that have histories of violence. You don't want to be in parts of town that are shaky. Okay. You want to be able to make sure that your environment is as safe and you're around people as loving as possible. Okay. Because the Pluto-Mars square, especially with Mars in the 8th house, can be a little challenging. All right. So just make sure that you're with people that you trust in places that you feel good about. And the plus side of the Pluto-Mars square is that it gives you a lot of life force. It gives you a lot of intensity and also a lot of focus and a lot of drive. You know, if you could tap into that, we can tap into it any time with that Mars in the 8th house. You can find a force, you can find a life force and a will that is really relentless and will not give up until it gets what it wants or needs, you know, or achieves. So you've got that. Excuse me. You have that. That's part of who you are. I think that's a very empowering piece. And I think also too that sometimes I don't know if you've experienced this or not before, but there are times where people might be jealous of you, or they might claim that you have quote unquote too much power, or you'd experience haters or something like that. That also would be Mars in the 8th house. That you would kind of evoke people's aggression. That you would be kind of a reflection or a symbol for their own lack of feeling empowered or their own disempowerment. That's what happens with Mars in the 8th house sometimes too. We attract people that quote unquote might be our enemies, or they would like to think that they're our enemies, but really all they're doing is projecting onto you, sort of their lack of, their own ability to make change in their own lives. So just remember that when that happens, if that happens for you.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Anything else with this incredibly complex chart of yours?
I wanted to know, I heard it was something where by your chart you could see where's the best maybe place for you to live or to find work or something.
Sure, we can look at that. I mean, it's called astrocartography.
Okay.
And I can do a quick astrocartography check for you right now.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just checking it out here. The map is opening up. And all right, let's play a little game here. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I am seeing, so we're just talking the United States now, okay? Just the United States. By the way, your best aspects are outside the United States. I'm going to tell you that right now. But the United States, where do you think would be the best place for you? Which place do you kind of resonate or feel good about?
Well, I know for a long time since I was little, I've always wanted to go to New York or go to school there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Interestingly enough, you're on it. Your intuition is right because you have Mercury on the midheaven running right through New York City. And let me just read you the textbook definition for this. Okay, you ready?
Yes.
Here we go. Being in these regions helps you become more clear and matter of fact. This is especially helpful when you're involved in tricky negotiations or have to approach the public. Your statements become convincingly precise, focusing on the essential and not playing on emotions. Your general approach favors practical application and is in tune with the needs of the community. This is an ideal place for seeking work, finding a new career, or preparing for an exam. Authors, journalists, or reporters seem to have a hotline to current information, trends, and events of the day. Teachers, researchers, politicians, anyone who has something to say will find an attentive and accepting audience. These places are excellent for planning or organizing long-term projects. You are youthfully enthusiastic. Your mind is quick and accurate, and nothing escapes your sharp perception. You can remain aware of the whole while being flexible without any unexpected complications. You may even attempt to turn a hobby into a job or make it financially viable. Manual dexterity is fostered by this placement. Emotions or romantic desire get little focus. So there can be a tendency to experience life in a rather cool, detached manner, giving preference to the rational and the intellectually abstract. I think it's good. If you want to go there, you want to study, you want to start a new career, perfect place. You're right on the money. You felt it intuitively. I hear astrology is flushing that out. Bang, right there.
Okay, yeah, because I've always felt a strong pull, ever since I was little, to act and do all that kind of stuff, but, outside forces and people telling me I can't do it and not to go, and so I've kind of ended up getting stuck where I'm at now.
Yeah. Yeah, well, clearly it's a very good place for you to find your voice. Do you sing at all?
No, I don't sing.
Okay. All right. Well, voice is, a voice can be a writing voice or your own personal voice. So yeah. One of the things that I wanted you to think about is, we just had kind of an interesting moment where your intuition got fleshed out. So I want you to remember that, and I want you to remember that your intuition is good. You have solid, clear intuition with that moon in Pisces. So I think the empowering moment for you in this exchange is that your intuition is right on, and we just verified that. So continue to trust your intuition and continue to listen to that inner voice.
Okay.
All right? Cool.
Thank you so much.
Excellent. All right, Amanda. Take good care.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. There we go. Let's go to the 818 line. There we go. Let's go to 818. Here we are. Hello there.
Oh, hi, Robert. I'm listening to your show. I love listening. It's easier on the phone. And I just want to say, I'm so happy you're healthy. It makes me happy.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, it was really weird. It was like I wasn't like I was sick, right? But it wasn't like I couldn't do things. I just couldn't do things at a level that I was happy with. You know what I mean?
Well said. Exactly. Picture clear. I'm in California, and I look up at the sky, and I see the airplanes, and there's streams all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And, and it's like, why don't people look up? And why isn't anybody saying anything? But, it's just bizarre.
Well, so, people are, okay? Let's not, here.
Good.
They are. There are a lot of people that are aware that we're inhaling crap that is making us sick. And I've shared this story before. I'll share it again. I was backstage at a festival in Northern California, and this was in 2008, which was the run-up for the presidential election. And hold on a second. This was actually, it was 2008. And Dennis Kucinich was there. And I got him backstage, and I just walked up to him and I shook his hand, and I said, "Hey, Dennis, if you get elected, what are you going to do about these chemtrails?" And he said to me, "Well, I have a bill in Congress that is the Air Safety Act," and this is how Dennis was getting at it. And he was essentially putting a bill together which made airplane companies and jet fuel manufacturers be very specific about what was coming out of their planes vis-a-vis fuel or any other aerosol dispersants. I'm not sure if that bill ever got past the House or got through the House, but he said to me, yes, chemtrails are very real, and I know a lot of people are getting very sick from them. So this is from Dennis Kucinich, and a lot of people will say, "Oh, well, Dennis Kucinich, he claims to have seen UFOs. What do you expect, right?" They're going to denigrate his character. But for a politician to admit that to me, it means a lot. So people do know.
And they do have chemtrails throughout the world. It's not here. It's in Alaska, even Australia. It's global, is what I was trying to say.
The only place that they don't have chemtrails is China.
Oh.
China does not have chemtrails because China has...
ready to pack up and hit the road?
They have a deal. China has a deal that chemtrails don't get sprayed over China. That's right.
Interesting. Yeah. I'm glad you shared that. So I learned a lot from you all the time. You're really great. Thank you for teaching.
Well, it keeps me off the streets. Keeps me out of trouble. Yeah. All right. So do you want to go back and hold?
I'd prefer, yes. Thank you.
All right. there we go. We're back on hold here. It's 1:04 Central Texas time, Austin, Texas. It's cold this morning, man. It was so freaking cold yesterday. All right, I got a story to tell you. Here's the story. I was most of you know that I am a football fan. I enjoy football, and I'm a big 49er fan. I'm actually writing about Colin Kaepernick and putting together horoscopes, by the way, for 2013. Just started. I'm coming out of my shell from the holidays, and I'm accruing some momentum. So Colin Kaepernick is a very interesting guy. He burst onto the scene Saturday night, absolutely destroyed the Green Bay Packers. And I've written about him before. He's very interesting astrologically. He has a Sun-Pluto conjunction separated by 1 degree, and Saturn right now is on his Pluto, Saturn right now on his Sun, and a lot of times that confirms fame. You know, people can get quite famous when Saturn conjuncts their Sun. So keep that in mind. You know, if not famous, you can achieve some form of recognition for what you do. Whatever hard work you've put in, Saturn will confer that. So he's an intense character, this guy. He also has a moon in Aries, and he has the true node in Aries and conjunct. So he's got a lot of Aries qualities. So I was talking on this message board yesterday about them playing in Atlanta on Sunday. And Atlanta is kind of like New Orleans in some ways. There's a lot of black magic in Atlanta. There's a lot of voodoo, dark magic in Atlanta. And I said, you know, we've got to surround the 49ers in light because they're going down into this pit in Atlanta. And then people were kind of joking with me a little bit on this message board. So it was really funny. And I use the term Caribbean magic because sort of the version of voodoo that we kind of are, you know, vaguely familiar with comes out of the Caribbean, mostly Haiti, and it emanates from West Africa. It's a version of Yoruba and some of the West African syncretic religious experiences of you know, from places like Senegal and in areas Kenya, Uganda. So anyway, I used the term Caribbean magic, and then I left the house, and I walked up to the gym, not far from, it's actually in the apartments, and it's cold. I mean, it's really cold. Like, it's amazing how cold it was. So I get to the gym, and I turn on the treadmill, and I turn on the TV, and I saw the weirdest thing. It was The Price is Right, and Wayne Brady, who is the host. I love Wayne Brady, by the way. He's a Cancer, very talented guy. And Wayne Brady's the host. And they were giving away a prize, and he was doing kind of like this mock sort of Gregorian chant. And it was absolutely fascinating, but it was weird too, because he was doing this call and response with this guy, and they had these Gregorian chant CDs, and there was money behind each CD. There was something very ritualistic about it, and slightly dark in some ways. And they were giving this thing away to this woman. And what were they giving away? They were giving, it had to do with Johnny Depp, and she said, oh, Johnny Depp was a pirate. He was in the Pirates of the Caribbean. I think it's a trip to the Caribbean, and I'm going to keep this prize. So I think we had this overlay of Wayne Brady doing this mock Gregorian chant and this whole Caribbean thing going on, just as I'd been talking about, you know, Caribbean magic and, you know, a playoff game as a ritual. It was kind of bizarre, to be honest with you. And I said to myself, oh, yeah, I'm on to these guys. I know what's going on. So then I did my workout, and, you know, I was doing my sit-ups. I was working my ab on those exercise balls, and the exercise ball fell out from under me, and I slammed down on the floor, and I had my I've fallen and I can't get up moment, and I'm right on my coccyx, and it's like, okay, my workout is over, and I literally kind of limped back to my house, and I had to take a really hot bath to try to unlock my back a little bit. So, I mean, for me, it was an interesting moment, one of those weird little synchronistic moments. But getting back to Kaepernick and astrology, and I'm actually writing about this, one of the things that I tapped into was this guy is like, he's like a freaking gladiator. I mean, this dude is a warrior. You know, that's what he is. He's 6'5", 230 pounds, and he's like a beast. You know, and he's a sweet guy. He's very humble. He's adopted. He's got all kinds of tattoos all over him. They're biblical tattoos. He's very into God. He's a Christian. He doesn't drink. He doesn't do drugs. He only looks like a menace. He's actually one of the sweetest, nicest guys, you know, you'll run across. And his coach is Jim Harbaugh, who's a Capricorn. And so we're talking, you know, strategy. And Harbaugh comes off like a general. That's his vibe. He's like a general. And I said, you know, Capricorn, Harbaugh and Kaepernick, it sounds like Capricorn, doesn't it? They found each other. The Roman general and his warrior have found each other, and they're reunited together again. And then I thought about it some more. It's like, wow, you know, Kaepernick has Aries. He's got moon in Aries. What's that? It's the god of war, right? It's the god of war. And he's got true node in Aries. And then I saw this thing on ESPN, and he had his mother. Well, he was talking about his mother. He says, oh, yeah, I'm really into that movie, The Gladiator, and I'm really into the Gladiator times. And my mother, and he pulls his coin out from around his neck, and it is a Roman coin. So he's got a Roman coin around his neck. His mother had given him. I'm like, wow, this is really interesting. And then it dawned on me, okay, so check this out. Then his mother, his birth mother, is Italian. So he has Italian blood in him. You know, he was adopted. So this guy is part Italian through his matrilineal line, and there's probably a pretty damn good chance that he's got gladiator blood in him, right? I mean, it makes a lot of sense. And his mother's maiden name is Russo, which is red, which is the color of Mars. And, of course, the two main temples in Rome were the Temple of Venus and the Temple of Mars. And then here's the kicker. This is what I thought was really fascinating. In pro football, they have the head coach, and then they have two guys below him, one that coaches the defense and one that coaches the offense. One is called the defensive coordinator, and the other is the offensive coordinator. And the offensive coordinator is the guy who has a little radio, and he basically tells the quarterback what play to call. They actually have this. They have little radios set up in the head, right? Aries, the head Aries, signal into the head, and then the quarterback can say, you know, blue dog blitz, 43 right, double trips left, on 2, ready break, right? So that's what happens. The guy that does that, the guy that gives Colin Kaepernick his plays, what's his last name? Roman. His first name is Greg, and his last name is Roman. So he's a Roman guy. His name is Roman, and he's actually instructing him as to what to do. Fascinating stuff. And he's on the cover of Sports Illustrated, which is a big jinx. And if you look at it, it says, you see him, it says number 7. He wears 7, which is a sacred number. And below it, it says holy ... And then it's got a picture of his coach, kind of not a very flattering picture, just a talking head cut out, taped up, and just to the left of his butt. So it's like he's smelling his butt. And then up above it says Red Sox Nation in decline, Red Sox Dynasty in decline. So red is a common theme as well on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Red Sox, red background, Colin Kaepernick in the red 49ers jersey. Not crazy about it. Feels a little bit like a setup to me. But again, we're seeing this. These layers of symbolism and colors and everything else that is kind of interesting, to be honest with you. I don't think I've ever seen it quite this way in sports. There's something visceral about this person, Kaepernick, and what's going on, especially on Sunday, which I don't feel good about, by the way, versus the Atlanta Falcons. Let's get a phone call in here. Hey, thanks for calling the show. Where are you calling from, and who are you?
Hello.
Yeah, hi.
Yes, my name is Jonelle.
Hi, Jonelle.
My birthday is 12/9/1956.
Hey, Janelle.
Yes.
What do you think about Colin Kaepernick?
I don't know of him.
Okay. I'm just checking in. 12/9/56.
12/9/1956.
All right. So you are a Sagittarius.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like sports at all?
No.
All right. What time were you born?
11:50 a.m.
Okay. All right. And where are you calling from, just out of curiosity?
Cottonwood, California.
Okay. And where were you born?
Torrance, California.
Okay. All right. So, is this the first time you've listened to the show, or?
Oh, no, I've listened to you for a while.
Okay. Well, there you are in all your glory. You got a super interesting chart, grand water trine, and some wonderful geometric complexity here, some challenge, and also some wonderful angles for easy growth. You've got some sextiles, So there we go. You also have a yod between Mars and Neptune and Pluto and Jupiter right in the center of that yod. T squared, Mercury square Jupiter, Mars opposite Jupiter, Mercury square Mars. Not terrible. I think I've got some of that in my own chart. So, all right, where do you want to go? What focus today?
Well, the last 8 years have been pretty hard, and I've been physically, spiritually, emotionally just down.
Yeah.
And I'm just wanting to know if there's something better coming.
Is there a light at the end of the tunnel?
Yeah.
I would say so. And part of what you're going through, based on what I can see with your chart, is you're dealing with a major a major Neptune transit going through your 11th house. 12th house. So Neptune is in your 12th house, and it's not going to get out of there for a while. It's at 2 degrees. Your ascendant is at 11. But you also have, by the way, your moon in Pisces at 10 degrees. Right now, Chiron's also been transiting your 12th house, and that can be very hard. When you deal with a Chiron 12th house transit, you had your Chiron return at 5 degrees. You have Aquarius and Chiron, which can be a very empowering experience, but because your Chiron is in the 12th house and transiting Chiron in the 12th house as well, there can be at times a gnawing sense of something is wrong, something is off, and you can't really shake it. Sometimes, and sometimes people would even feel like a Chiron transit in the 12th house will almost be like a curse in some ways. And the good news is that, so how this works, like in the grand scheme of things, what Chiron transiting your 12th house would do is it would force you to develop more of a point of contact with your inner life, right? Like you would see that you would have troubles, and you would try to find ways to ameliorate or heal those troubles. You would look towards a higher power or some other overriding force in your life to bring you answers, to bring you healing, to bring you help. Anytime major planets, and I do believe Chiron is a major aspect, by the way, transits the 12th house, it forces us to move outside of our linear and rational mind. It makes us, go deeper to get in touch with our soul. So Chiron in your 12th house is part of the soul's journey for you. As it moves into, now that it's in Pisces, it's getting closer and closer to your moon. And I think that when Chiron eventually emerges from your 12th house, because right now it's also getting close to squaring your sun and squaring your Saturn and Sag and all that stuff. When Chiron finally crosses your moon and then finally gets into your first house, and let's find out when that is, my sense is that the you're going to feel a lot freer, that there will be a cathartic experience, a cathartic moment where you're going to have a sense of feeling like you're released in some ways, okay? And a lot of times that kind of catharsis, because it's touching your moon, will have some resonance with either mothers or grandmothers, or your role as a mother or your role as a grandmother. There's something that is released. There's something that is liberated, and there's a sense of catharsis and grace. Now, if we look towards March of this year, we see that Chiron hits your moon on the 10th. So it'll be at 10 degrees on March 10th. And at that point, actually, believe it or not, we want to take it one more day. You know, where is the moon? The moon, one day later, is in Pisces. It's a new moon at 10 degrees. Now you want to write this down. This is very important, okay? Very, very important for you. On 3/11, you're going to have moon on moon exactly, and you're going to have transiting Chiron exactly on your moon, on the new moon. Sun will also be in Pisces. Excuse me, it'll be in your first house, a little more illumination for you in terms of your own identity. Mercury will also, this is the big Pisces stellium coming this year. And you're also going to have Mercury in Pisces at 7 degrees. Actually, it's at 8 degrees, Mercury's retrograde then. Be 8 degrees on that very same day. So you have a Mercury-Moon conjunction, Chiron on Mercury, very emotional time for you, and a time where you can, I think, a lot of healing also for you at the same time. So is that going to be the panacea, the end-all and the be-all, for you? Will you be completely healed? Will your life change? Probably not. But I'm going to tell you that there's a potential for you at that time to let go of a lot. And I see a lot of tears. A lot of tears during that time. Yeah, and not bad tears, good tears. Good tears.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then
Thank you for adding that.
Yeah, and then Chiron comes into your first house, right? So Chiron comes into your first house, and now you have when things move from the 12th to the 1st, we have the ability to get a handle on them. We can see them. We can see our own wound, or we can see our own process, or we can see where we've come from. It's sort of like coming out of the labyrinth, from the 12th to the 1st. Think of Orpheus coming out of the underworld and into the light of day. That's like the 12th to the 1st. Now, you have Mars in Aries, and guess what? Just a few days later, you're going to have your Mars return. On the 14th of March, which is the Ides March, or that's the 15th. So on the 14th of March, you're going to have Mars. You're going to have a Mars returning, and guess what? Boom, your Mars is at the base of that grand fire trine. So it trines Saturn, and then it trines Uranus, and you have the potential for kind of radical healing. Really quantum radical healing kicking into gear. I think it's a good time. So just hang in there and wait for this Chiron to cross your moon, wait for Chiron to get into your first house, and then just release, let it go. Just let it all go.
Now, financially, does it look like I can sustain, like, the next few years? I have to.
Yeah, let's see. So Saturn is transiting your 8th house. Okay, 8th house is the house of like pensions, retirement, other people's money, Wall Street. So Saturn is in your 8th house right now, and Saturn in the 8th house generally indicates that you need to have some tenacity, that you need to be able to build some endurance. So I would say the answer to your question would be yes. And the reason I say that is because this year we're going to have this wonderful trine between Jupiter and Saturn and Neptune. And for you, I think that's going to be quite helpful. Jupiter this year is going from Gemini to Cancer, and it'll still be in your 4th house. Do you have any equity in your home?
Yes.
Okay. There's something about your home, something about equity, Maybe you find out that your house is worth more than you realized at some point. But there's definitely some form of compensation and expansion, financial expansion around your home because of the angle between Saturn and Jupiter quite early on. Look for June, July. I think you'll be fine. And my sense here, it's kind of like finding, you know how you scrounge around and you're digging between the cushions on the couch and you find a couple of quarters or maybe $1 or something like that. My sense is that you're going to have that kind of a moment, but it's not at the couch. It's a metaphor. So you're all of a sudden you're going to find, oh wow, I didn't know this was there. It's like, ooh, that feels good,
Yeah.
But it takes a little bit of effort with that Saturn in the 8th house. Saturn this year, also at the end of the year, begins to conjunct your Venus in Scorpio in the 8th house. And that will be interesting for you because I think then you're going to get much clearer on relationships in your life, and not just relationships, like the value of relationships. I hate to break it down like that, but who's worth what, and all those kinds of things. And
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so there you go, and that happens for you more towards the end of the year. And the other thing too that I like about this year for you is Pluto, which is in Capricorn, gets to 11 degrees this year, and it begins to trine your house of relationships. On the angle of the house of relationship, the descendant, you have Virgo at 11 degrees. So there you will experience regeneration in relationship and people wanting to help you, or I don't know if you're married or not, or have
Well, if I could ask something about that,
sure.
The Venus in the 8th house.
Yeah.
I was just widowed for the second time.
Oh wow. Okay.
And it now I'm like I feel like cursed, or I don't even want to. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. I think the Saturn transit of Venus in the 8th house will remind you that you're not cursed. Because
good.
When Saturn crosses Venus, it's like a reset for all your relationships. It's the end of a cycle. And with Pluto trining Virgo on your 7th house cusp, okay. So one of the things that when I started the show today, I talked about empowerment, right? How we can look to our charts for kind of empowering moments or empowering aspects or empowering symbols. And one of those for you is Jupiter. And you have Jupiter Jupiter in Virgo, 29 degrees in your 7th house.
And Jupiter, isn't that endings? Is it 29?
It is. It is about endings. However, it's also about expansion, and it's also about opportunity. So you will always have the potential for relationships in your life, okay? Now, the 29th degree, which I know a little bit about because that's where my sun sign is the 29 degrees Virgo, the more that we sort of get into the final degrees or the final aspects of the sign, the better off that we are, the more that we can own the energy of that planet. And it's difficult because you want to move on. You've got half and 3/4 of your house almost dedicated to Libra, its own sign. So you want to have relationship, you want to get into relationship, you want to feel that, and yet you have Virgo there. So I guess sort of the Zen cone of your chart really would be that, based on what I'm seeing here, that with Pluto trining your descendant, that the potential for another relationship is there for you, or a beginning. You've just experienced an ending. This would be a beginning. It's interesting because you've got Jupiter at 29 degrees, and then you've got your descendant at 11 degrees. So they're both, 2 + 9 is 11, 11. So you've got your ascendant is at 11 degrees. That's interesting. It's an interesting angle, interesting number. I would not, and I know you're grieving probably, and you've gone through a passing, and so I don't want to, take you out of that space.
It's been 5 years.
Oh, okay. So I would say that that the potential for another meaningful relationship is in the offing for you, especially with that Pluto trine on the descendant.
And when would around that be?
Well, we're getting into that right now, actually, because when we look at Pluto, it is at 9 degrees Capricorn. It goes into 11 degrees in February, and it's going to be dancing with your descendant for basically 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and the thing about Virgo and the descendant is it can represent relationships that have to be healthy. That you need to have, healthy relationships, both physically.
Yeah, I do.
So find somebody who's physically fit, number one.
And that's why I haven't felt that way, and I don't want to attract what I am. So
right.
I've been trying to get better.
That's good. I think that's a good strategy. Fitness would be a good thing for you. So work on that too, and you've got a couple months here before you can attract what you want to or need to attract. I like your chart. I think you have a very powerful chart. I think that you're.
I wish I felt it right now.
Well, you're a lifelong student, and you're a lifelong, you're a philosopher, really, at heart. I mean, you've got your true node, Saturn, Sun, and they're all in the sign of Sagittarius, and they're all in the house of Sagittarius. So, part of what you're here to do is to learn and to grow and to expand and to see life as, a series of, lessons that you can learn from. That's classic Sagittarius.
I thought my true node was in Scorpio.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. It is. My bad. It's at the 28th degree, but it's in the 9th house along with Saturn and.
Yeah.
So even with your true node, it's like it's a Sagittarian. It's a Sagittarian energy, and you're funny. You have some of your aspects really connect with mine. Like I have my ascendant is 28 degrees Scorpio, so your true node is right on my ascendant, and then your Jupiter is right on my sun. Maybe we should hook up. Maybe we should get together. What do you think?
Yeah.
I'm
in Northern California.
Yeah, I'm pretty healthy. So yeah. Anyway.
Well, I sure appreciate. Is my Uranus transit over? I know it hit that 1st degree in Aries. Is that done?
It is. It is, and right now it's.
And what about it with that yacht?
Well, yeah. So it would have hit your yacht last year, right? And so everything in between. So the thing with the yacht, it's the finger of God. It's what's in between. It's the field in between. So it's from Pluto to Neptune, and everything between is sort of the flux field of the yacht. And you would feel it in places like, your Jupiter in the 7th house, the beginning of your 8th house, the beginning of your 7th house, and that's where the energy would go to from the yacht, and that would take up a great deal of emphasis and focus for you. So relationships, healing, getting over, past relationships, and faith too, because, you've got Neptune in your 8th house, and you would have sort of, had questions around faith, and maybe you had your faith either energized, and who knows if you wouldn't have had that.
Wow, that's amazing, because I had kind of felt distant, or turned my back just out of the pain and, it happening again, and it felt unfair, and I just now started coming back into my faith again.
Well, good. Well, right on. We'll keep the faith, okay?
I will.
And you take care of yourself and get fit and go find yourself a strapping young hunk to spend the next 20 years of your life.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye, Amanda.
Bye-bye.
All right, that's Amanda from California. And it is 1:34 here in Austin, Tejas. Let's go to the 516, and then we're going to get to Mikey Hart after this. Hi there, thank you for calling in.
Chris, what's the science, man? Somebody told me you called my name, so I had to.
Oh, it's him. It is him. It is the man with the mission. What's going on, Rob?
I'm chilling, man. I just happened to look in my inbox, and a friend of mine named Daria told me to look in my, told me to come on because you were calling. I was like, damn, I hope I'm not too late. You know.
Well, I don't know, man. It all depends on the definition of timing. It's all perfect, right?
Yeah, that's what I really believe. So, and practice. So
Yeah.
what was it? Because I just tuned in. as you was reading the young lady.
Well, I did my best raw impersonation, and we had to do a little bit of time adjustment with somebody's chart. And I think I channeled you to the best of my ability and figured it out. So we got over that moment. And, yeah. But now you're here. Now you're here. Let's talk to you for a minute.
Okay.
So what is going on with you, man?
It's the same thing with me as usual, man. I want to, expose as much of the philosophy, the practice, the methodology, the perspective of astrology as I can, to those who are willing to actually dabble into it. And right. I don't downplay any facet of it, but I really press the mathematical computation because I don't want that to be lost in this internet age, this calculator, pocket app, phone app. Yeah, because, it's like when you run out of batteries, then your occupation as an astrologer will be finished, Don't let the longevity of your career and your hobby, your practice or your passion be limited to your access to the internet or a computer device,
Absolutely.
So I try to ingrain an idea of the mathematical formula. It may be difficult to wrap your mind around at first, but in the end of it all, it is so rewarding, and it is only layer upon layer of mathematical computation.
Yeah. So just to let people know, we're talking to a good friend Ra, who has the Academy of Cosmophysics, which you can get a strong dose of over on Facebook, and I think might be the hardest working man in astrology today, if I do say so myself.
Well, I take that as a compliment, man.
Absolutely.
I do my best to keep my brain fresh and abreast with as many concepts that can be applied. But I take my time with them, really, but I apply them everywhere I go, and I apply them to depth. So if you do that, you'll find your niche in this science, Pick up, it's like a smorgasbord, man, You're going to taste everything there until you get full. And then, when you digest it, you're going to turn that into muscle or energy or whatever you can use just as an analogy. And it's the same thing, and you cannot get into this science without the mind that you're going to be studying it for the rest of your life. If you dabble in it, then that's fine. But if you're going to be serious about this, it's a study that is ever new and ever renewing itself, It follows laws. There's laws involved. That's why I'm so hard on the time of birth, because you really have to understand this. The nurse wasn't there on some ready, set, go when she was recording your birth time. And, you have to consider how much, oxygen this baby had before they made their passage through the vaginal canal. Mm-hmm. And you have to think about all of that, and really, because I'm into prediction and using moving progression, which means that you have to have that birth time to within 4 minutes of accuracy to arrive to the day calculation or a projection or prediction. Casting. When when you're forecasting these energies, people, there's astrologers say you can't get it to the day, but you can get it to the peak day. And on the peak day, that event will be manifesting, and there is the success in the prediction. So in 4 minutes of birth time is what you need to be. The average person is 20 minutes out.
Hey, I got a question for you, Rob. What about intuition? And what about, you're first of all, you're Scorpio, and you would have
exclude excuse intuition. I was born with Pluto and Uranus conjunct, man.
That's right. Yeah. So where does that play a role for you? I mean, you're very exact with time. But what about intuition? Where does that jump out for you?
Well, intuition is a natural process that comes without external prompt, I believe, and I, as I understand it. Therefore, it hits me as it will. You know, I've done things, practices that I feel strengthen the intuition, and that is recognizing which thoughts emerge in your head from external prompt or which are actually internally originated. Pay attention to such a thing. I see your question, David. So how is one resolving accurate birth time? We'll get into that, but the intuition manifests itself as, that's not something that can be taught. So, but I use it as much as I recognize it. You know,
right. All right, I got a question for you.
Okay, hold on. Let me answer this one. This guy asked an accurate birth time. Eventually, you're going to have to put it to the test by taking a list of dates from a person's life, right, their past, a timeline, and then reverse engineering or engineering the chart to mechanically show forth and prove by motion and by planetary contact aspects to exact days to these events. You know, like births and deaths and graduations and great accomplishments, these dates, life-altering events, timeline, these, you know, there you go, David. Anyway, so can we move on? Yeah, right. Official birth time, Pam. Yeah.
All right. I want your intuition to chime in. Okay, I'm going to give you a sun degree, okay? Sun degree, 10 degrees Scorpio.
Okay.
Conjunct Pluto, 9 degrees Scorpio.
Okay, there's minutes involved here, all right? The sun is at 10 degrees in how many minutes? And Pluto is at 9 degrees in how many minutes?
All right, 9:55, 1:38.
9:55.
For Pluto, 1:38 for the sun.
Okay, I thought you said 10:55.
10, yes, 10 degrees, 1:38, and then Pluto 9 degrees, 55.
Okay, how do you get 1:38? 10 degrees, 1:38. Is 10 degrees 38 or is it 10 degrees 1 minute and 38 seconds? Is that what you
10 degrees, 1 minute, 38 seconds.
Okay, so we could just put that at 2 minutes. Okay. So this is, well, the sun has already made the conjunction to Pluto, but by birth, when you're profiling this, I'm looking at this in the natal chart, then by itself, it makes for a person who is very intense, motivating, and passionate, and an extremist. And very private, okay? And it makes this person very strong when it comes to the pursuit of their desires. But Saturn running over that now puts a hamper on that. So by will or by force, by force of circumstance, they will take a hiatus from the way that they've been pursuing their desires. Now, you can't just read that by itself like that. That's in a house somewhere, and that's in somebody's house, and there are aspects to this by birth.
Sure.
Yeah, that are of concern, and where the relationship between natal Saturn and the Sun and natal Pluto is paramount right now. When they were born, you know,
right?
But, you know, because now that it comes to this, it brings that energy like it folds it in on itself. So, what's the date that you're talking about here?
3rd of November, 1987.
Okay, so we're dealing with a 1987 child. Let me get that up, all right? At any rate, what I would say is using primary directions, converse or direct, then the difference between these is like 7 minutes of arc. So with the first year, this individual should have experienced a life-altering, irrevocable event. It could have been a death in the family, depending on what house it's in. So let me get that chart up. And where's the location of this place?
Wisconsin, Milwaukee.
All right, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So I got to find. Let me put that in there, because to just simplify, it to such a range as just reading the Sun conjunct Pluto. What does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that dynamic is going to be flavored by its position, and to consider it without that current position is like stabbing a black cat in a dark room, man. You know, the chances are very slim of you getting close enough to that cat, especially if you know trying to do us some harm. So we got to really look at the whole entire picture. Now let me find Wisconsin. Now Wisconsin, would that be W-I or W-Y? Yeah, W-Y.
W-I, yeah, W-Y is Wyoming, yeah.
All right. So now we're going to Milwaukee. I'm glad it's a major city because, you know, I'm using solar fire. Sometimes you have to go back and add in the
right.
City. Yeah. But anyway, okay, I got Milwaukee here. Now, what's the date? November the 3rd, so daylight saving time. We don't have to worry about that. All right. That's the direct time, right? Central Standard Time. Now, November 3rd, 1987, you said.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And do we have a time that we can
time unknown.
Okay. We don't have the person, do we?
I have the person. I don't have the time.
You have them on the line right now?
Oh, no. I mean, I have them in my head.
Well, get them on the line right now if you can. Or that's in the...
Yeah, man. So, okay. The coordinates I gave you are for Colin Kaepernick, who plays quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers.
Say this again now?
The coordinates I gave you were for Colin Kaepernick, who I've been talking about in today's show, who plays quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers.
Oh, okay. But I don't know who that cat is. So
That's fine, which is even better.
Yeah, right. So, but my point is, okay, now, so if we take into consideration that he's a professional athlete, then we can either put Mars in the 6th place, the 10th place, or we can put Aries and Jupiter anywhere because he has the moon conjunct Jupiter.
That's right.
In Aries, so there goes benefits through sports right there. And if we put that in the 2nd place, that's where he gets his money. If we put that in the 10th place, that's his career. Okay. If we put it in the 5th place, it's his natural talent. So that means that we still stabbing a cat.
All right. I'm going to tell you something. Okay. I'm going to give you a bit of information, which I think you were on, and you said that the life-altering event, right?
Right.
Okay.
In the first life.
All right. Here we go. You want to know what that is? I'm going to tell you right now. You know what it is?
What?
He was adopted. He was given up for adoption. And he was given up after 3 months. After 3 months, given up for adoption.
That puts another twist on the equation because Saturn in the 12th house usually shows up in the charts of adopted children. Mm-hmm. But that Sun conjunct Saturn works. Now, if we put that in the 4th place, that would describe his family position and immediate. So what? One of his parents died?
No. Mom just gave him up for adoption.
Well, that could be Leo rising too. See, come on, man. You know what we need? Let me look at a picture of this cat. All right. Let me see what he looks like. I'm gonna go to Google, and I'm gonna need you to spell his name for me.
All right. So first name Colin, easy, Colin, right? Colin, and then last name Kaepernick, a little funky, Kaepernick.
I see it. Okay, now, he looks like a Sagittarius rising to me all day long. Now, yeah, wow. Okay, so now I would rather go with Sagittarius first.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That's the ascendant.
And that would put his Jupiter in the 5th house, right?
Yeah, and that would make his natural talent a running athlete.
Right, sports. Yep. And then he would have Uranus also in the 1st house, which would be speed. The guy runs up. Yeah.
Uranus Saturn too, so he deals well with impact and collision, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. So we impact would be Saturn and collision or collision. Impact would also be Uranus or collision. Because both of them are like repetitious, you know?
Yeah.
Uranus, Saturn would be the refrigerator and Uranus would be the freezer. You know? So so we can also look at that in terms of impact and collision. Now, while running, so we know that injury to the arm, because the Chiron being opposition to that impact, an opposite, collision, and him have to keep his lungs in shape. His hope he never had a smoking problem. All right. What was the question about him now?
I was just giving you some coordinates. I wanted to see if you just had some feedback on the chart. He's got a big game coming up on Sunday.
You got who's going to win the game?
No, I'm not about who's going to win the game, just kind of a weather report for now. Sunday, the moon is in his opposite sign, which is in Taurus. So we have a Taurus moon going on. Of course, 0 degrees Aquarius on Sunday, game time in Atlanta.
Yeah, okay. Well, when you look at the chart, I have a very simple understanding of that situation, man. I look at the transiting moon just like you do. However, I look at the planet at last aspected, the planet at next aspects,
right.
The planets that are going to be aspected through the course of that game, because at 3 hours, that's approximately 2 degrees. It's a degree and a half, or, approximately 2 degrees.
At kickoff, the moon is at 21 degrees, Taurus.
Okay. So you look at it from 21 degrees, it last aspected what? Saturn, and it next aspects Jupiter. You dig? He's going to have a good game. He personally going to have a good game. I would have to look at the San Francisco 49ers chart to know if they were going to win or not, or look at a horary chart to that extent. But to just look at his own performance, then we got the moon applying to Jupiter by aspect, and by place, it last ran over Jupiter. It next touches Mars. Mm-hmm. Well, actually, if you want to count Chiron, but I usually don't use anything but the planets, all right, in this consideration. So, his next conjuncting Mars, then it's not going to be an easy game for the team, because if we look at Sagittarius as the ascendant, and if we are correct in that much. Because we could be wrong. There are certain dwads in Aries and certain dwads in Leo that elongate the nose and shape the nose like his. It gives me the impression that he's a Sag. You dig what I'm saying? So
sure. And you know what's interesting is game time. I did the horary chart for game time. I believe it's the Gemini's on the ascendant. I don't know the exact degree. So Sagittarius would be the descendant on game time.
Yeah, well, that's not a bad place for him, because the descendant represents partners and open enemies because of the commonality of the fact that both of them bring the best of you out.
Right.
So, yeah, both of them bring out the best in you. So the fact that he may be in a situation where he actually, the best in him is brought out through that place. So that's what comes to mind with that regard.
Interesting. Huh? I was talking about him earlier today, and I had made this comment before that I really got the sense that this guy was like a gladiator from a past life, and that his coach was the equivalent of a general, like a Roman general or a Spartan general, because they have that feel to them, And then I saw an interview with him yesterday, and he actually told this story about how he loves gladiators, and his mother gave him a Roman coin, which he has around his neck, right? And then you look at the true node in Aries, and the moon in Aries, and Jupiter in Aries, right? And it all starts to kind of, gets fleshed out. And then the guy who is one of his coaches, the guy who calls his plays, his last name is Roman, which I thought was quite interesting. So anyway, it was just kind of an echo and resonance through time kind of experience with astrology. Do you get into past lives at all, Ra, with your stuff?
Say that again.
Do you get into past lives with your work?
No, man, I don't tamper with that stuff that I can't put my finger on, that I can't show a physical event or emotional, traumatic, or celebrative moment for. No. Mm-hmm. I mean, I consider it, and it is so uncanny how two charts work together, and when you retrogress them before the birth, that's crazy too. So, but I don't deal with that, because my field of work, the services I'm providing, strictly deal with forecasts and by the monthly forecast. That's what I'm in the business of distributing. So that's what I focus on. Past life is whatever it was, whatever it is. I can't change it. I'm trying to deal with helping you deal with your present circumstance. But
right.
I don't want to get too out of I don't want to get too out of the rational, practical. And the fantastic is fine. Some people enjoy that, but that's not what I'm dealing with. I'm dealing with verifiable dates and processes. Over a period of 30 days, and that's my specialty. Humanistic prediction for jobs, for financial investment, for dealing with children, character profiling, things of that nature. And the past life, whatever you were, I can't verify that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't deal with it. Somebody asked me about how to reverse engineer a chart. It's easy. Let's say that on your 35th birthday, you threw a party, and the police came and crashed that party because the curtains caught on fire, okay? Let's just say that. Or 3 days before your birthday, your car broke down, you got into a car accident, or you almost got ran off the road. You see, we can use that birthday we know is however many years old you were is how many days. So we can automatically, let's say that happened on the 28th birthday. So we can go to 28 days from your birthday and be within 24 hours of correctness. Actually, we're within 24-hour margin of error of correctness. So now, we do know what accidents, what police, what fire represent, what parties represent.
Mm-hmm.
We can fix that planet onto an angle. You dig? Because I'm in the chat room, David. That's why. I'm in the chat room looking at your questions. Okay? At any rate, now we can affix that planetary symbol to the angle, and we can verify it by other planetary angles, other events that are degrees away from angles. Let's say that after we affix Mars to the fourth cusp, all right, to the IC for the fire in the home, right, or the police presence in the home. Either way, that works. And then two days later, you have Jupiter conjuncting the descending as well. And that would mean that the partner or an opportunity to travel in company to a cooperative venture would manifest 2 days later. So we can verify, and if that is not the time of day, you can remember 2 days after a fire in your home, an event that was Jupiterian, let's say, okay, to keep it short. So this is how you lock that in. You know about the party because a person has to tell you. You're not a psychic. You ask them, what did you do on your last birthday? If he says, all I did was sit home, okay, so you progress the chart to his 32nd birthday where he sat home. And there's going to be a planetary event shortly before or shortly after his birthday, within 3 months. So now you can verify the chart down to a 6 hour. Once you verify to a 6 hour motion, you're going to have some planetary contacts in that 6 hour motion and some event in that 3 month course of life to synchronize to that planetary motion. And therein is the technique of rectification and or reverse engineering the chart.
There we go.
To that time, once you get into that time of day, you can say that was 15 days after the birthday it happened. So that's 15 days is 1 hour, and if it's the 32nd birthday, that's 32 days. So you take it back from that planetary event, 1 hour and 32 days, and there goes the birth chart right there. But you have to be in mind that you have verified that one planetary contact with at least two others. With at least two other planetary contacts. You see? Yeah. You dig? Bow.
All right. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for being who you are. Thank you for doing what you do. But we got to go.
Thank God for a person like that. I don't thank me. I ain't the source of it, you know. This stuff was all here when I got here. You know?
Well, you know, stay in touch with gratitude any way you can. That's my philosophy. So there you go.
Too, that everybody in attention was paying attention and participating. I thank the whole mob for listening, man.
All right. The Great Rod, you can find him on Facebook, Academy of Cosmophysics. Take good care, my friend.
Sure. Peace.
And with that, we reach the end of our show. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, and especially Ra. the cosmophysician, breaking down the science, the law of time rectification, and the synchronization of the stars and planets in their exactitude. This is Robert Phoenix. You've been listening to Navigating the Astrological Matrix. Back on Friday, and who knows where we're going to go. Hopefully, we'll have a guest, and you'll find out then. Until then, use your head to discern what's real, your heart to stay open to what's possible, and I will see you on Friday. Go 49ers.
In the name I am that I am, son of tomorrow, I call forth the light of the living word, beloved Elohim, beloved archangels, beloved mighty Choans of the rays and the lords of karma. I call for the action of beloved Pallas Athena, beloved goddess of liberty, beloved Nada, beloved Kuan Yin, beloved Portia, beloved great divine director, beloved all-seeing eye of God, Cyclopeia. Let God's will be done, let God's will be done, let God's will be done. I do in the action of the sacred fire in this hour, descend on mighty cosmos, secret rays. I am the holding of the balance of Lord Gautama Buddha, beloved Sana Kumara and the seven holy Kumaras. I call upon the sacred fire, I call upon the light of God that never fails. Beloved mighty, I am present, come forth in this hour of the victory, come forth in this hour of the victory of the God slain. I demand the full power of beloved mighty, see me with us this night. Beloved Jesus, send to me, Lord, my Savior.